Hi everyone. Hi Folly Man. Hi everyone. I'll just wait for a few more people to come up before I properly get started. How is everyone doing? Yeah, I've chosen this topic because it's been on my mind lately, and I don't like the conversation around the topic and how it's been handled in the press. So I thought I'd throw my 2 cents in. I'm gonna be doing an article to cover this from my own perspective. But I thought as part of that I'll do a quick live and raise some awareness on the issue and the fact that it needs to be discussed. If people can tap the screen to like the live, so it will help other people find this live as well, that'd be great. Hi John Wicks, I think you're still here. Hi Terry. So yeah, people who don't know me that are here, I am Veiled Rose. I'm an ex-Muslim, and people can find out more about me on my profile page as normal. But one of the things I want to cover today, I want to try and talk to people about, is the Pakistani grooming gangs in the UK. But for me, it's a bigger issue than just the UK, because similar stuff happens in Pakistan as well, where religious minorities, where the young girls from religious minorities in Pakistan are abducted and forced into a marriage and conversion, and it's all very much connected to things like the honour-based abuse as well, and men thinking that they have control and the rights over women and girls, and it's just not right. And I think the issue, one of the main gripes I've got, is the fact that a lot of people like Keir Starmer and Naz Shah are trying to silence the conversation around the issue, especially trying to silence the young girls, the victims of the grooming gangs, saying that they should be quiet for the sake of diversity. Apparently that was the more or less the exact words of Naz Shah, which are absolutely disgusting. But also with Keir Starmer lately saying that people shouldn't be talking about the grooming gangs in the Pakistani grooming gangs because it leans into the far right narrative, and I call bullshit on that, because it basically is everybody's duty to speak wherever they see abuse, and wherever they see abuse, people should talk out against it and speak out against it. There's no exception to the rule. I don't care if it's people who you love. If you see people who you really respect and love, if they're the ones that are being the abusers, you should call it out. Nobody should be exempt from being called out for abuse. Yeah, it is really disappointing. I am really disappointed at this. And yeah, there should be, because the other thing that has been flagged up is that it's a case of Islamophobia when people talk about the Pakistani grooming gangs. And again, I call bullshit on that as well, because at the end of the day, talking about victims of gang groomings is a human rights issue, and it's a feminist issue, and it absolutely must be talked about, and no excuse should be given to silence it. So I'm not getting very many people on today. I'll wait for a little bit. People are coming and going, but if people want to carry on or join the conversation, just tick the guest request, and also like the live as well. So what are people's views on what's been going on with the grooming gang? You people's offspring of Jimmy Saville. Oh my God, really? No, it's both the same thing. The likes of Jimmy Saville are no different to the likes of the guys in Pakistan who are abducting 5-year-olds and marrying them. Exactly the same issue. No one has like moral superiority when it comes to stuff like this. And somebody who's worked with people who have been affected by sexual assaults and rapes and stuff like that, one thing I can tell you is that it's a global issue within every single community that you can find, and a lot of the time it's actually within families that the assaults happen. It's not from strangers that the threats occur. It's actually from your own families, within your own families. So yeah, I call out the sexual abuse from both sort of like the likes of Jeffrey Epstein and Jimmy Saville, but also from the likes of the mullahs and in the madrasas in Pakistan, and the priests in the Catholic and the Church of England churches as well. They've all got to be called out. And it's so important that we have a conversation about things like consent and things like what SMEX is, because a lot of younger children don't know what SMEX is. I was watching Call the Midwife, the first episode. I love Call the Midwife on the BBC iPlayer. I was watching that, and there was the first episode, they were talking about this young girl who got pregnant, and she was she was young. She was about 12 or something like that. My details are really fuzzy, but she was about 12 years old, and her parents were religious nut jobs, and they refused to let her have sexual education at school, and as a result she ended up having smegs with a young boy at her same age, but she didn't know what was happening and why it could be dangerous, or what the consequences could be. So I remember when I was at school, some similar happened with religious nut jobs who refused to let their children have sexual education at school. And the girl in the Call the Midwife story, she actually fell pregnant from having SMEX. And it was really horrifying, actually. They were showing scenes of where the girl was being surrounded by the churchgoers, and they were sort of like chanting and shouting at her and telling her that she was like had the devil inside her and to be gone. It was really messed up. So yeah. Exactly. JS, it's not just in Pakistan; it's in other countries as well. And I think it's just so important to have these conversations about it. In that, I support the ex-Hindu atheists on this app, and they're also on YouTube and stuff. And they talk about things like this sexual abuse in Hinduism, where priests are given young girls to have sexual relations with, and that's supposed to be a part of supposed to be an honourable thing for the young girl and their family. It's really messed up. That it was covered by a Netflix movie called Maharaj. People should check it out. A lot of Hindutva types try to ban it, but it's something that should definitely be looked at, because a lot of the time amongst atheists and humanists and that, a lot of people say Hinduism is like so peaceful and so harmless, and there's, you know, it's feminist and all that sort of rubbish. And you actually look at what it does and what it stands for and the effects of it, and you're like, no, I know about the caste system, I know about the Yellama Jogani system in parts of India as well. And people should check out the movie called Gippy, which talks about that. But getting back to the Pakistani grooming gangs, it's been really hard to see people like Naz Shah, women who are from that community, saying that they should shut up for the sake of diversity. I know it was a long time ago that Naz Shah said that, but it still stands. It's absolutely disgraceful. People should not be silencing young children who've been through such horrendous abuse. User, do they have love with them as well? I know, it's disgusting. Exactly, it was absolutely disgusting. Yeah, exactly. The girls aren't even ready, but it is just infuriating. Absolutely infuriating. A lot of the lives that I follow on YouTube, the guys talk about Islam and how it allows for child marriages, and the apologetics we hear about it are absolutely disgusting. But that's the sort of thing that is at the root of the grooming gangs. Yes, Starmer needs investigating. But yeah, I don't know if people have heard about the alleged grooming, PDF gangs during the Thatcher government and in Parliament. Something I'm going to have a look into a little bit more. But yeah, if people can keep an eye out for an article and videos that I'm going to do on the topic soon, that would be great. I am going to get going, but my key takeaway is, unless somebody wants to come up, imagine... Hold on. I can't follow you, user 124563345. You haven't got enough followers for a come up either, I think. Okay, damn, that's a shame. Yes, if Talk about Pakistanis are the only grooming gangs, find out about the whites and talk about as well. Well, that's kind of what I've been doing. I think maybe you've just joined. But why should we... Hold on. That's homegrown problem, not like the Puma trackies. What? Yeah, no. The whites... talk about the whites as well. What? No, don't deflect attention. These girls deserve to be heard. The victims of the Pakistani grooming gangs deserve to be heard, and also the abusers, the vile filth that run these and part of these gangs deserve to be ousted and talked about as well. Why should we let ourselves be deflected from that? That's absolutely wrong and disgusting. No way should that happen. If we don't call out abuse, then we could be next for being abused, because bullies and abusers always go for the most vulnerable first. Thank you, Yuada. Bullies and abusers always target the most vulnerable first, and then they go on to attacking the less vulnerable, and it could be us next. So it's always sodding important to call out these things. And yes, I agree, we should talk about everywhere and in a larger context, but at the same time we have to make sure we don't ignore and deflect from these Pakistani grooming gangs either. They want you to focus on the Asian, not the elites. We can do both. We can friggin' well do both. And that's exactly what I'm saying here. That why is it one or the other? I'm saying that in Pakistan that you have minors from the religious minorities being abducted and forcibly married and forcibly converted as young as 4, 5, 8 years old, and the elites in Pakistan are the religious clerics, and they're the ones doing the abusing. In England, the elites, well, you could say in a lot of cases the elites are the people like the MPs like Naz Shah, who's telling victims to be quiet for the sake of diversity, but also people like the MP who recently who was arguing for blasphemy laws to be reintroduced in the UK to protect religions from being criticised, where as far as I'm concerned, it's a lot of these religious BS things that are at the root of the problems. Or at the root of the problem, because these religions say that men are entitled to slaves and all the rest of it, and entitled to women's bodies and superior to girls and women. So what do you expect? I've got a guest speaker, Chumbaka. Oh, I don't know you. I'm not going to accept. What's so funny? Have you ever even had to deal with something like that? Just... So yeah, anyway, getting back to, I'm just looking at the comments every now and then as well. So one of the things that I've noticed is that hold on a second, Chumbaka, nope, I'm not accepting because I don't know you. Chumbaka, if you want to tell me a little bit about why you want to come up as a guest. It kind of is an echo chamber because it's only me talking, so only I can hear my own voice, so yeah. So yeah, if you don't like it, you can move on. What did you want to talk about, though, Chumbakau? I'm not putting anyone up that is going to make my head spin by... Let's discuss the grooming epidemic. You're being sarcastic. Right, hold on. I think he wants a conversation. Yeah. I think he's going to be an Islamist telling me to shut up about this and not talk about it. And being butthurt that I'm actually having this conversation. Well, tough tits. Netherlock. Ooh, I don't know you either. Yeah, if you want to come up, tell me a bit about why you want to come up. He does politics lives. Oh, okay. Maybe when I've got a bit more energy, I might have a conversation with them. At the moment, I just... you only target one community. Who says you've only just been on my live for a few seconds? What do you know about me? I've literally just been talking about this is tedious. Well, go then. Nobody's keeping you here. I do not want to call you miss. Okay. Oh my God, really? Yes, they do, but we're talking specifically about the Pakistani grooming gangs and the root cause of them and why they are able to get away with what they've got away with for so long. No, the shame is on the attackers and the abusers. The shame is not on me for talking about it. You want to talk about the Tommy Robinson documentary. You're making claims without any option of an appropriate response. Make your own video then, or do your own live. I just want to be heard and talk. If I find people that I know want to come up here, that's fine, but otherwise... yeah, in terms of Tommy Robinson, I've seen a few of his documentaries and aware of some of his work, but I'm also I think he's a bit of a hypocrite, considering he's been done for GBH and attacking journalists and beating up journalists, especially including female journalists. So I have no love for him, and I know he's basically a misogynist. He's been attacking and undermining women who have been talking out against the grooming gangs and other such things. And he's not a big fan of female women who talk out against abuse of power and things like that as well. And he talks very... I've seen some of his posts lately, and they sound very similar to the Islamist posts when Islamists are talking about empowered women who talk out. He's using exactly the same rhetoric as they do. And the way he incited hatred towards a Syrian teenage boy, and got the boy beaten up and stuff like that. I have no time for people like Tommy Robinson. I think that... so, yeah, absolutely. But yeah, Tommy Robinson is he comes up a lot in conversations, and especially on lives on TikTok. So I do need to actually put together like some videos and do a live on him properly at some point. But I haven't got around to it yet. Yes, that's what the app is for people to talk on. Do I believe these gangs are still operating in the same areas? Absolutely, unfortunately, yeah. I recognise the name, C. Thanks for coming up. Yeah, I think they've had so much They've got away with so much, and there are people who are defending them and deflecting from the victims who have been speaking out. That absolutely, unfortunately, I think it's still going ahead. It's like, well, no, did you watch the documentary? Which documentary? See, this is the problem. When people say stop making one community bad, it's so immature. That is this sudden problem in the first place. Why on earth should these victims of the grooming gangs be ignored? Why on earth should we ignore the fact that there are like disgusting PDF files out there taking, like, abusing and attacking young girls that are so vulnerable in care as well? It's not like they're just young girls, they're young girls in care. It's not immature to talk about these things. It's immature to call it immature, and it's disgusting to say that people shouldn't be talking about this at all. Yes, people should cover the white grooming gangs as well. There are grooming gangs in all communities, but the grooming gangs in other communities aren't silenced anywhere near as the victims of the grooming gangs are not silenced anywhere near as much as the grooming gangs of the Pakistani Pakistani community victims are silenced. Exactly. Thank you. See, it's an issue in itself. Yeah, it's a shame I can't call you up. Hold on. It's not giving me the option to do a guest request. Could you send me a guest request? I might, if you can. That would be great. If you could accept my request to follow you, that would be great as well. Yeah, when people talk about the Jeffrey Epstein grooming gang and Prince Andrew being a PDF file, nobody says, "Shush, you're being a Christian phobe, or you're being a white anti-white racist." It just doesn't happen. Whereas with this, there is so much silencing around the debate, around the conversation, telling people, okay, no worries, you can't come up, don't worry, see, maybe another time. Yeah, it's about over 1,000, I think 1,700 girls have been a victim to the grooming gang in Rochdale and Rotherham, and that's over just a few years. So this isn't an isolated incident. This isn't an isolated incident. It's not a one-off. And it's absolutely something that should be called out and talked about. There's something called the J report, which goes into detail about it. But similar with when I read up about the Jimmy Saville and how over the decades the police force and so on covered it up and didn't bother to talk about it. Similar has happened with the Pakistani grooming gangs. People have, the police have refused to investigate. Social services have refused to do anything about it. And in the case of the Pakistani grooming gangs, they've known about it. Yes, they've known about it for years, absolutely. But also they've not wanted to do anything because they didn't want to be labelled as Islamophobes. For crying out fucking sake, that is absolutely fucking ridiculous. Because these girls need help. It's very, to me, everything gets really mashed up and jumbled up because it's all connected to the absolutely disgusting, depraved sort of like insistence that you are going to, as a man, you have the right to women and their bodies and stuff like that, and to do whatever the hell you think you want to with us. It's absolutely disgusting. Diana Nami, she is a Iranian human rights activist and women's rights activist, and when she first arrived in the UK, she had a translator who helped her settle in the UK, and she was a very close friend and really helped her out when she first arrived in the UK as an asylum seeker escaping from the Shah in Iran. And her translator was unalived by her husband. And when Diana reported this to the police said they weren't going to do anything because they didn't want to be labelled as racists and Islamophobes. And this is exactly the same sort of BS bullshit kind of crap that people are pulling on the victims of the Pakistani grooming gangs, telling people to shut up about the issue, telling the victims to shut up about the issue, about the abuse, because they don't want to be deemed as racist and Islamophobes. For fuck's sake, and ignite things like that. For fuck's sake, if there is abuse going on, you call it out. There's no two ways about it. Whoever is the abuser, even if it's your own father or your own partner, if you discover that somebody like that is being an abusive fuck feature, you call it out. You question and criticize anything and everything that you see, especially if it is harmful to somebody. And, you know, as far as I'm concerned, there's nothing more important than life and dignity and freedom. And sadly, not everybody gets that. People think that religious freedoms are more important than human rights or the rights of animals. It's absolutely ridiculous. In Pakistan, where you have minority girls being abducted and forced to marry and convert, the reasoning, there have been attempts to make it illegal and a crime to do that, but the religious fuckwit clerics, arsehole cunt features, sorry if I'm swearing a lot, but it pisses me off, have said that, oh, you can't ban that because it's their religious right to do those things. Can you fucking imagine? It's absolutely disgraceful. And then when you have a Pakistani MP standing up in Parliament calling for blasphemy laws, you're like, what the hell is wrong in our nation? We're supposed to be a secular country, and we're supposed to be rational and all that and everything else, and yet we have a moron standing up in Parliament calling for the lynching and sort of like imprisonment and abuse of people who dare to talk anything critical about religion. It beggars friggin' belief, it really does. And yeah, and nobody like challenges it in Parliament, not even the Labour people. I mean, it's not surprising when you have one of the biggest figures on the left, Jeremy Corbyn, sucking up to Iran and being on the Iranian TV. Iranian state TV run by the Islamic regime. What can we expect from the left in the UK, sadly, when that is the state of the, you know, one of the most progressive people on the left. Yeah, Bourne, don't lump me in with, I just want to make it clear, I don't do loads of lives, but I literally call out abuse and crap wherever I see it. I see abuse and crap in the UK, and the way that people handled the Jimmy Savile abuses and stuff like that as well. I'm dead against that as well. And I've worked with victims of sexual violence, and a lot of the time it's actually people who are in their own families who sexually assault you. It's not usually people from outside. It's not usually people from grooming gangs and stuff like that. Most women who have been sexually assaulted, or most children who have been, it's been people in their own families. It's not from outside. So yes, absolutely, I am absolutely against the abuse, sexual abuse in churches as well, and there's a long-standing history of that. The difference is, though, that it's okay to talk about churches and priests and vicars being paedophiles. That's absolutely fine to call them out. But if you call out a imam or a mullah from the mosques and the madrasas, you're deemed as Islamophobe, and you're silenced. And potentially in places like Pakistan and stuff like that, and Saudi Arabia, you could be called a blasphemer and lynched and stuff like that. So it's not on the same par. That's why we need to talk about these things. And yeah, free Britain from Zionists with a British flag. That is so confusing. And why is it funny what I'm saying? Elon Musk hero? No, not at all. Not at all. Elon Musk is not a hero. You know, he is quite happy to suck up to people like Nigel Farage and who's the other guy, Trump. And Trump is very much a what's it called? My brain goes far all the time. Trump is part of the Jeffrey Epstein sort of like gang. You know, the difference between Jeffrey Epstein and the Pakistani grooming gangs is class and ethnicity as well. The reason why the far right haven't picked up and trashed and been angry about the Jeffrey Epstein and the Prince Andrews is because they're white and they're rich. The reason why the far right have picked up and weaponised Pakistani grooming gangs is because they're predominantly low working class, and they're brown. That's the difference in the far right's eyes. That's the difference for Tommy Robinson. That's the reason why he talks about one and not the other. Whereas I think they're all fucked up and should be called out. Thanks, Kufa. Thanks, Sam, for great comments. I really appreciate it. Because I find doing lives really bloody hard and exhausting. I'm not finding this one too exhausting, but I do find them hard. But I also know that they're really important to do. And I've noticed that some of my last video that I did got like 80 views, and I'm like, oh dear, if I'm going to get my message out there, I need to do some lives and do some things to make sure I can be heard on the app. So it's one of the reasons why I've done this. But thank you. Honour-based abuse happens in a lot of cultures and communities, including the white community. Yes, absolutely it does. But the big difference is in the white community, when you call out honour-based abuse, you're not silenced and told that you're a racist and an Islamophobe. If you call out the honour-based abuse in the in the Muslim community, you know you're going to get backlashed and silenced and told that you're a racist and to shut up. that is a key difference. That's why I think it's really important that organisations like Southall Black Sisters and Karma Nirvana and One Law for All, their work is so important. They've really shifted the goalpost on this issue. They've said to people and lawmakers, look, honour-based abuse needs to be recognised as a crime, and needs to be defined in the law books as well, because at the moment the law doesn't recognise or define honour-based abuse. And until recently, people were given a lesser sentence if it was honour-based abuse. And if anything, it should be a harsher sentence. Oops, sorry, I've got to stop touching the screen. But one thing I would definitely recommend, if people haven't read the book, it's called No Safe Place by Bekhal Mahmood, and she goes into like the struggles that she's had in trying to get support when she was struggling with honour-based abuse from childhood. And how it was completely not acknowledged or seen as an issue. People thought she was making it up and things like that. And what have you, and they've tried to send her back to her parents and things. As 1357, I work with many victims of gang grooming and HBA and plenty of non-Asian victims. Absolutely, I'm not saying they all are. But sorry, I'm not saying that they all are Asian victims or brown victims, but what I am saying is that this needs to be discussed. I'm gonna go and grab myself a drink and pause. How do I pause? I don't know. All right, I'm going to get a drink. I can't figure out how to pause this. Hold on a second. Pause. Hi guys, I've still got a bit of a tickly throat, but I've had a bit of water. Someone's put on here, talk about your own country or something. Where is it? Oh, where's my screensaver gone? What on earth? Hold on. Background. There we go. Okay, you can't see the whole thing. Sorry, I should be fired from this. I'm so useless at technical stuff. Oh, buggery. Right. How do I get? That is so annoying. Trying to. There we go. Let me see. Here we go. Can people? I think it's a bit easier to see that now, isn't it? It's not quite as bad. Somebody was saying, talk about your own country. Blah, blah, blah. I can't. I really want to find the comment, but I can't find it anyway. But no, this is a global frigging issue. I know, the issue of sexual violence and grooming gangs. That's why I've put on here. Do you think? Hold on, let me see. Do you know about the abduction of minors in Pakistan from religious minorities? That's why I've specifically put that in there, because to me, this isn't just about Rochdale and Rotherham and the girls there. Absolutely, it is about that, but it's also about the abuse of power and the entitlement that men feel over girls and women. Absolutely, it's a global issue, Sam. It's absolutely a global issue, and it happens to everybody. Most women throughout the world have at some point dealt with sexual harassment or sexual violence. It's just infuriatingly the way it is, and if a woman hasn't been through something like that themselves, they know a woman who has been through that and have talked about it and have had it disclosed to them. I'll never forget one of the first conversations I had with my partner, and she was saying how she was absolutely devastated and alarmed by how many women have in her life have been victims of sexual assault. She was like, she'd never thought about it because it's not something that she's ever had to deal with. And so when other women have talked to her about it, she's been absolutely horrified and overwhelmed, because it's something that's completely out of her sort of like existence, so to speak. And she knows how lucky she is and how rare it is for somebody to be in her shoes. And the sickening thing is, most women know somebody or girls know somebody who's been through this kind of crap. But men don't know other men who have been abusers. Apparently, that there are obviously abusive men amongst them, but for some reason they don't know other men who have been abusers, which is absolutely, shocking. So I am a bit tired of seeing the Free Zionists, the Britain has got Zionists or whatever. I do not want to see laughing emojis, unless somebody's having a proper joke, but this guy is just taking the mickey. Absolutely, they protect each other and it's vile. Thingy and this ghost guy, whatever, ghost emoji person, they're doing my head in. I'm going to mute them as well. They absolutely do protect each other. My brain goes off in different directions, as you probably can tell. But talking about protecting each other, this is something that I think people underestimate and aren't aware of enough. When it comes to the Sharia courts, because it's all very much connected, when it comes to the Sharia councils and the Sharia courts in the UK, I'll try to send people the video that I'm referring to. But when it comes to that, a lot of people don't realise. Thank you, Sam. I love you too. I think you're amazing as well. A lot of people don't realise that the Christian higher ups, they have been supporting the Sharia councils being in place, and the Tory government have been happy for the Sharia councils to be in place. Um, um, sorry, are you going to mute me? Nope. Unless you really tick me off, then no. Yeah. So anyway, going back to what I was saying. So, and then there's this organisation called One Law for All, and they are apps and places and organisations called like ICRO, which is the Iranian Women's Rights Organisation. They've asked for, well, ideally they would like these Sharia councils banned and Sharia courts banned because they are inhumane, they are misogynistic, and they are vile, and we do not want a parallel legal system. We do not want religious rules in the UK. It's absolutely disgusting, especially when you consider the religious rules would include the abduction, it being okay to abduct fucking minors and marry them and force them to fucking convert, for fuck's sake. We do not want these Sharia council, these religious rules coming into play and gaining more and more power. It's absolutely fucking ridiculous. But what people don't know is that the Church of England, the powerful in the church, I'm not saying lay members of the church that go to church on a Sunday and sing their hymns, not ordinary churchgoers, but the people at the top, the people who run the church, who control the church and who are empowering the church, those fucking arseholes, sorry, I use bad language a lot, have been in cahoots with these things to be put in place, and quite happy for that to happen. And so, when I see ex-Muslims and people like that buddying up to Christian extremists, I'm like, are you frigging insane? These guys are happy to work together. They have the same sort of goals, but yeah, so there have been, there were, one of the organisations, I think it was One Law for All, they actually asked for the government to start to regulate the Sharia councils. They've been pushing for that for years. They've been asking them to regulate the Sharia councils. So eventually they set up a board to discuss regulations or some crap like that. And the chairperson of that board was this right-wing, anti-abortion Christian arsehole, and just this vile creature who was in charge of that. And obviously he's not going to be that impartial or against these Sharia courts, because what the Sharia courts want to implement is not far from what he wants to see in the first place. So yeah, I mean, thinking a lot of the things that I end up talking about and getting pissed off about, they are so interlinked. They're like a horrible ball. You see the cats playing with the ball of wool, and you go to pick one out and several others come apart as well, because so many things are interconnected. So yeah, both ideologies have caused so much destruction, makes me sick. Absolutely, yeah. And both ideologies are quite well protected. And I think one of the most frustrating things, oh my God, I was doing a little bit of research on this, because sort of like I have ADHD. And so yesterday, while I was doing all my things that I was doing during the day, one of the things I came across was the grooming gangs, because it's been in the news lately because of what Keir Starmer said and Elon Musk. And one of the things that I woke up at about 4:30 in the morning and I couldn't go back to sleep, so I was on ChatGPT doing a bit of research about because I'm going to try and do a video and an article on the issue. And I asked ChatGPT to tell me about sexual relations in marriages in Christianity, in the Bible. And it was like, oh yeah, it's lovely, it's all about sort of like mutual respect and it didn't say consent, but mutual respect and all that sort of stuff, and on loving your wife like you love Jesus and all that sort of crap. And I'm like, oh my God, really? Because I've been listening to the atheist reading of the Bible on an app. I can't remember which one, but it's not like that at all. The Bible is not full of love and respect and empathy. It is full of slavery, of getting your servant pregnant because your wife can't provide. It's about cursing whole populations for the sins of one or two people. It's insane. And oh my God, because and I was not expecting the same apologetic. I was not expecting that kind of apologetics. And when I asked it about the issue of sex slaves in the Bible and stuff like that, and what have you, they're like, oh, it's about what's it called, context of the time. And it's like exactly the same rubbish that Muslims use, Islamists use to justify their holy Quran, the holy Quran and stuff like that, and the history there. And it's like, oh my fucking God. But when I started out asking ChatGPT about the grooming gangs to help me do a bit of research and structure myself and stuff like that, the initial response was, I can't do that. ChatGPT was like, I can't do that because it's divisive. I was like, oh, wow. I was like, well, what can you do? Just do what you can. And there's workarounds and stuff like that to get the work done. But yeah, initially ChatGPT was like, I can't. And when it comes to researching Islam on ChatGPT, if you ask about sex slavery and stuff like that, initially it will say things like, well, I can't. It's divisive, or it's out of context and stuff like that. It literally talks like some of the Islamist Dawa boys that we hear on the app. It's really bad. But yeah, I don't know how long I've been on, but thank you guys for coming up, especially Sam and C. I've really enjoyed just chatting, and hopefully I've raised a bit of awareness and put my 2 cents in. But yeah, I am gonna get going now, but what I'll try and do is I will try and put snippets of this live up for people to listen back to, and when I do write the article and the video, I will let you guys know. Bugger. I didn't realise the sticker had moved. All right, anyway, right, love you guys. Stay safe, everyone, and look after yourselves. And I will I'll get you the stuff that I produce about this, so hopefully we can share and get the conversation going and shut up the far right and shut up the Islamists on both sides and all that lot. All right. Take care, guys. Love you all. Bye.